Brahms' Fourth and Final Symphony is one of those rare works that ends in tragedy rather than triumph. The first movement is in sonata form and begins with this first theme. And that unfolds beautifully. It also includes these figures, which will come up a lot. So that unfolds and intensifies passionately until we reach a second subject. Here is the announcement of the second subject. And here's the second subject theme in cello. And so on. And there's a bunch more good ideas in the second subject, like this one. And this one. Until finally, this theme emerges triumphant and brings the exposition to its climax. And with that theme, we are drawn into the development section. The exposition does not repeat itself in this movement. The development mostly deals with the first theme, though it also deals with other themes from the exposition, taking them through new moods and new keys, making them more dramatic, more agitated, varying them, remolding them, and so on. As ever, Brahms doesn't disappoint. After some dramatic fire, Brahms winds the energy down with some mysterious modulations. Until we think we might be entering the recapitulation. Remember, the entry into the recapitulation is typically one of the most exciting moments to look out for in any sonata form. But instead of going huge and climactic at this moment, Brahms subverts our expectations in quite a different way. There's a hint of the first theme. Then another. And then we are back in the recapitulation, beautifully done. The recap continues as you'd expect, with some alterations to make sure that the second subject falls into the home key. But as we approach the close, we are thrown into catastrophe for the coda. A lot of tension and fury, and the first theme bursts out once more in fortissimo. It's worked up and then brought back down again in a final, grim cadence. Oh, and it might surprise you that Brahms doesn't even use trombones in this movement, even though he easily could have. He just doesn't need to. Movement 2 is a kind of sonata form without development, just the first subject, second subject, and then a recapitulation and coda. The main theme begins like this. This theme opens up a little, and soon we reach the dominant key. This triplet figure prepares the way. And we reach our second subject. The modulation back to the main theme is just gorgeous. It starts like this. And then it does this. always makes me melt. The main theme returns and then rises into a powerful climax. We hear again the second subject reaching grand new heights, and the final bars are a very noble sounding Phrygian mode. Movement 3 is a scherzo, though its form seems to be almost sonata form. First subject, second subject, development, recap, and coda. What stands out is the energy of the movement and its terseness. In the first few seconds alone, we get the main theme, though really you could separate this theme into three sharply contrasting themes. This one, this one, and this one. And over the course of this movement, all three of these ideas will be varied and developed. But this leads us to our short second subject. Anyway, once these ideas are exposed, listen to how Brahms brilliantly develops and explores them, changing moods, exploring different soundscapes, all in a very terse and extremely dramatically varied 6 minutes of music. It's a very exciting movement and a masterclass in developing themes with excitement and creativity, and it has a wonderful, joyful climax. Yet, as I warned you, after all that joy, the symphony must end in tragedy. The fourth movement is a great surprise, a passacaglia form. This was an oft-used form in the 1600s, an ancient form by Brahms' day, associated with solemn music. The way it works is you'd get a repeated, slow ostinato, usually in the bass, and over this endlessly repeating bass line, the music would unfold, gradually developing, changing, perhaps surprising us, but the bass line would, like fate itself, inevitably repeat again and again until its final strokes. We can hear many passacaglias in Baroque music. One particularly fine example of this is Bach's Crucifixus from his B minor Mass. Anyway, Brahms is resurrecting this old technique here in the finale of his last symphony. Here is his theme, to be endlessly repeated. So then, Brahms will go through many variations over this theme, several dozen, but my advice is don't worry too much about trying to trace the theme in every variation. If you can, that's great, but sometimes it's more well hidden than others. Here are some notable variations though, for your pleasure. Variation 1 is immediately different. It almost seems to be influenced by Beethoven's tragic Coriolan overture. Later, we'll hear a passionate violin melody over the theme in bass. Variation 7 is a sharply rhythmic variation. Variation 10 has some surprising new harmonies. And then the time changes to 3/2 meter, twice as slow, for this flute passage in variation 12. Where the main theme is now hidden within the harmony, so don't worry if you can't hear it that easily. Then a major mode comes, and soon we have this moving variation for trombones. Soon enough, the speed and intensity pick up again with drama. There are some moments of immense force, and then finally, after the 30th variation, we reach a slowing down, and then suddenly a faster tempo. And from here, Brahms breaks free of that endlessly repeated theme and takes us through a great set of modulations. And so on, leading us to the final tragic climax, though we do hear a few more versions of the theme, like here in the trombones, or altered here. And this is how Brahms gets 9 minutes of music and a great symphonic finale out of one incredibly simple theme, constantly repeated. Here are my favourite recordings of Brahms' Fourth. I highly recommend that you check out Primephonic. It's a perfect app for discovering and listening to classical music. It has amazing features for discovering more of the music you love and exploring classical music of all kinds. You can try it out for 2 months completely free using the voucher code inside the score, so why not try it out and see if it's right for you? All the details are in the description, and I have to say it's quickly become one of my favourite apps. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.